Good evening, Gallatin. Welcome to New York City for those of you who are in from out of town. My name is Kerrin Smith, and this evening I'm going to be kicking off our program by sharing with you an alternative paradigm of economic growth for the fashion industry. Think about the benefits of a farmer's market. There's a smaller ecological footprint. You have 10 times the amount of conversations in a farmer's market than you do in a supermarket. And there's a certain interpersonal accountability. That is, you're not going to rip off the guy selling you your tomatoes if you actually know him, and vice versa. In this sense, the empathy, accountability, and interpersonal relationships that characterize a smaller scale economy also embody an alternative way to practice business. What would this proverbial farmer's market look like in the fashion industry? It's not selling bracelets on Broome Street, that's for sure. Because in order to be a viable alternative to contemporary models of economic growth, models that one of the 20th century's most cutting-edge economists, John Kenneth Galbraith, say are rooted in ideas of production, and models that one of the top environmentalists of our age, Bill McKibben, say are rooted in the idea that more is better, a smaller scale economy has to effectively account for globalization and technology. A local economy considers local in terms of relationships between people. That is, local refers not just to geographic proximity, but interpersonal proximity. And in a digital moment, these relationships can happen across geography. Contemporary economic growth is measured quantitatively in terms of a single bottom line. Number of goods sold at what price point. And what we're seeing now across industries is that this single bottom line is no longer the most effective way to gauge individual happiness or collective well-being. From the Rana Plaza factory collapse in Bangladesh in April of 2013 to a severe deficit of labor rights for models right here in New York City, the fashion industry raises normative concerns about the systems of fashion production, the results produced by those systems, and ultimately about the values that drive business in the fashion industry today. Instead of just looking to solve the problem or even fix the system, we need to dig deeper. We need to examine the social values that give rise to these systems, that produce these results. For it is a shift in social values, from hyper-individualism to empathy, that will ultimately allow for us to shift systems, solve problems, and create a more cohesive world. This strategy is called a conscious full-spectrum response and has been developed by Dr. Monica Sharma, whose extensive work with this strategy, sourcing from personal wisdom to shift systems and solve problems, has repeatedly proven to be an effective way to manifest sustainable social change. So, what does this world look like? In the fashion industry, it means acknowledging all involved in the production of a garment. It means considering the emotional and labor value of a garment as opposed to just focusing on its brand or market value. It means valuing the health and well-being of all workers. It means being transparent and accountable. In my own work with my startup CATiD, I have been able to translate these principles into tangible results. And the results have been garments that connect people to each other, conversations that reshape how people see the world, and ultimately, an unshakable commitment to empowerment for all who are involved. For example, with the CATiD tees, CATiD's own in-house line of repurposed vintage t-shirts, each tee comes with a packet of 4 hang tags. 1 about the project and the intention of CATiD, 1 acknowledging all involved in the production of the shirt, 1 with an inventory of where every single material comes from, and 1 with an address in New York City that inspired the aesthetic of the shirt. These tags do 2 things. First, they connect the consumer to the people, places, and ideas that gave life to that garment. Second, these tags prove that CATiD is effectively manifesting a shift from a solely profit-based model to a people, planet, profit, sourcing wisdom model. People, acknowledging all involved in the production. Planet, using secondhand and vintage materials. But the real magic lies in sourcing people's wisdom, for this is the realm of social values. The CATiD tees arise first and foremost out of a commitment to transparency, accountability, and peace in the fashion industry. As both an art and a business, these values, these principles, are the source of these tees. Imagine for a moment a world in which companies actually started at a place of considering principles, of thinking about social values rather than jumping immediately to profit. There's nothing wrong with profit. Profit's necessary. It's just insufficient on its own. In this sense, CATiD is answering Galbraith's call for an alternative way to gauge social well-being. For CATiD uses integrity and empowerment as truing mechanisms for well-being. In this sense, CATiD is demonstrating that this alternative paradigm of economic growth, one that places empathy and interpersonal relationships at the forefront, is in fact possible on a micro scale. Now imagine what the world might look like if this model were brought to scale. Thank you very much.